John Arch from the first generation of Fates Warning, and you're listening to the Backstage Access, where the real show begins. Keep it metal, my friends.
Hey, this is Chris with BackstageAxxess, and we have with us the original vocalist for Fates Warning, John Arch. Welcome, John. Well, thank you for joining us here at BackstageAxxess. We do appreciate the time.
My pleasure.
Now, 2016 marked the 30th anniversary of Awaken the Guardian. So what are your thoughts on that record looking back 30 years later?
Wow. Looking back, well, I'm just surprised or amazed that, in a 30-year span, people are still listening and people are still complimenting about the album.
Right.
Yeah, and I look back and I realized, being in our prime so early on and everybody was in shape, I was vocally in shape, it's rehearsing to it now how hard it was, how hard it really is. And I realized that I sort of boxed myself into a corner. You're young, full of testosterone and all those good chemicals, and you're, ignorant to a point, which is probably a good thing. And we just concentrated on, writing the album and doing what we're doing. So I'm pretty surprised at the longevity for that album.
Right.
Pretty much.
Now, last year, Jim kind of reassembled that Awaken the Guardian lineup to do some festivals last year. How did that project all come about, and what was kind of your reaction to that?
Well, whenever my phone rings and it's Jim on a caller ID, I get like a mini panic attack. I know I deal with that. So it's got to be something to do with, doing something. It always is. So, initially, I think it's how he worded it that made it a little bit of a guilt trip, whereas, I knew I had to say, yes, it was one of the contributing factors. And what he said to me was like, look, it's, the 30-year anniversary of Fates Warning, a landmark album, and Fates Warning has done anniversary shows for past albums, on their anniversary date. So, and here it is. I already talked to all the other guys, and they're totally into it. So now I'm asking you, and I'm thinking to myself, what a putz I would be if, I'm the only one to say, no, I don't want to do it, and let everybody down. So that was part of it. And then I really think that I knew that if I didn't say yes right away, if you give me time to think about it and what my nerves would be like, and, what a daunting task it is to sing something that I sang in my 20s, and it was hard then to do it now at 57 on stage, I probably would have had a different answer, but I said yes right away because I knew, and for the fans also, it's something I think that just had to be done.
Now, tell us a little bit about those two performances. I know one was in Germany and one was at Prague Power here in Atlanta.
Well, sure. How specific would you like me to get with the shows? Do you want details, or do you want to just know my general feeling about them?
What was your general feeling about the shows? How did that day go, and performance-wise for you?
Okay. Well, so, of course, Germany came first, and we had about a year to prepare for it, so we practiced on our own, and then we rehearsed together. So, and I can't say that I personally ever feel prepared. As a vocalist, there's so many variables, I don't know what's going to happen when I get up there. But I had confidence in the band because, everybody had done their homework and everybody sounded really tight. So as far as the Germany show, I had been there in 2012, so, I did have my feet on those stage, and although it brought me little solace, it was something that at least I had gotten up and had a little bit more confidence. Okay. So, until that first note is hit, it's like I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth, but luckily, it sounded decent, and I had some new in-ears that I was trying out for the first time because I don't think I've ever had a good monitor mix them at my life. So, that was actually a good thing too. But, really when it comes down to it, I don't care how good the band sounds. It's all about the fans. And, from the first note that we hit, it was like off to the races. They were off the charts, excited. And, I look out and I see everybody singing and their fists in the air and they're having such a good time. And, what people tell me, had told me, which I think sunk in, is like, what? It's like everybody messes up and, there's going to be some flatties and sharps. People don't seem to care. They're there to have a good time, and they overlook stuff like that.
Right.
And they're reliving their experience of growing up with that music and reliving it. And I think that, they were just grateful that we were there. And so that's my main, what I come back with. It's all about the fans and us feeding off their energy. If it wasn't, for them, what would it be? It would just be another rehearsal. And, same for Prague Power, too. We had, one technical difficulty, which, I don't know if I shared that, but why not? We had a good sound check, and I had a good mix in my in-ears, so I felt good to the day. So when it came time to hit the stage, we hit the first note, and I could not believe what I was hearing in my monitor, my in-ears. It was total Frank Oresti with his guitar, full blast in both ears.
Ooh.
I mean, full blast to the point where it actually hurt my ears. And I was like, okay, so, it's panic mode. Here is the first note. I know something's drastically wrong, but you have to try to fight through it. So somehow we got through the Sorceress, and it was time to get to Alley of the Dolls, the second song. Well, I got through the first verse, and I just could not, follow my place. I couldn't hear the drums. So I actually stopped singing. It was just like I was dumbfounded. And so I missed the whole half of the first verse, the first half of it.
Oh, no.
But, yeah, so as that's happening, I'm looking over at the monitor guy to find out what is going on, trying hand signals, but, to my surprise, the monitor guy, all I saw was his feet up on the board, his head back, and his mouth open. He was asleep. He fell asleep. And it's like loud music. I don't know. But he fell asleep, and I knew I was in trouble. But I looked at the guitar tech. He knew exactly what was going on. And he went over and luckily kind of saved the day, and he got us at least some resemblance of some sound that we could hear ourselves. So that was the start to Prague Power. Very nerve-wracking, but
right.
Once we got beyond that, we fought through it, and it was a great experience. Also, fans were fantastic, and the sense of relief that comes over me when I finally get off stage it's like I'm in heaven, because whatever, it's like surviving. To me, it's like a battle, but whatever. And it shouldn't be that way, because it should be an experience where, where else can you get something like that? To be able, it's like a privilege to be able to get on stage and
sure,
and perform and be well received.
Right.
I dance all around your question, I'm sure.
No, that's okay. Now, was there a big difference in the crowd between Germany and Atlanta?
Not a huge difference. I mean, both great audiences. I have to say that in Germany, just their culture with heavy metal music. I've been over there before for a kid, but what I can say, it's like I don't want to say it's like an episode of The Twilight Zone. You're going back in time. Everybody is dressed, to kill metal, and everybody's dressed like Rob Halford.
Okay.
It's like they're still in the '80s, but I mean that in a good way.
Right.
Because for them it's like a religious experience, and they are like packed in there like sardines, like really compressed against each other. And in America, I'm sure there would be a brawl breaking out, but they are so united as like one audience. That really makes a big impression on me. And and no, don't get me wrong, it's like great over here too. I think they just take it up a notch. From what I've seen, and the two shows that I've done there.
Right. Now, how did it feel to be back on the stage, with your former bandmates? Does it all just kind of come back naturally and it's just like old times?
Well, I would say it probably would have been like that if we had more shows and we were, performing more together, because even the current lineup, when I talked to Jim, he said, when they go on tour, it's the same thing. They get all nerved up for the first couple, 3 shows, and then it starts to become like an old hat, and they feel more comfortable, and they're able to concentrate and dial in on what they're doing in the music rather than fighting off nerves, which is it's everybody has nerves about something, but
sure.
It actually detracts from a little bit from the performances. So it was comfortable being on stage with the band. I was confident in them. They were well rehearsed and everything. But I like to, after the first song or so, to be able to kind of lay back a little bit and kind of absorb some of it. And I think because it was only 2 shows, there's such big audiences that I didn't get a chance really to do that. It was more of a surreal experience, and I remember bits and pieces, like a little camera looking around
sure.
and seeing faces in the audience. So it was more like that. I really would have loved to be able to take more of the show and the experience and embrace it rather than being nervous about, oh my God, and I'm in a stage for so long, and I just hope I don't mess up.
Right. Now, these performances were filled for the upcoming DVD release, which will be out April 28th, I believe, Awaken the Guardian Live. So what can you tell us about the DVD package that'll be coming out?
Well, I can tell you they didn't tell me about the DVD being filmed until after I said yes to the show. So these guys are smart. They know. So I can't tell you much about the packaging and all that stuff about the physical
right.
CDs and because I really don't have anything to do with that. Jim probably has a little bit to do with it, but it's mostly Metal Blade. But from what I've heard, yeah, they've done it up in certain varieties, for whatever the fans want. If you want something with a Blu-ray or DVD or T-shirts or even colored vinyl, so many people are, even myself, are into that. So it's just another incarnation of putting Awaken a Guardian in a different format, but
right.
This time it's live, and I think a lot of people like to listen to a live experience, maybe more so than on vinyl, because they realize that some artists can do things in a studio with their magic fairy dust, and some people can actually pull it off live. And I think they like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be a nice kind of a keepsake thing for the fans.
Yeah, there's a cult following for Awaken the Guardian. I think a lot of people love to have everything about it.
Cool. Now, if you would have known ahead of time, would you still have said yes to those 2 festivals?
I think so. Yeah. What I try to do is just, which I'm not really good at, is put something out of my mind. Usually my mind's very busy, but I knew I had to, okay, forget about that. The camera's going to be there, but just pretend, nothing's going on. It's a regular show. So, yeah, I think I still would have, but luckily I was able to put that out of my mind. And, during the show, you're so hyper-focused that I didn't notice, only a few times, when one of the big cameras with the boom came down in front of me, and it's like, this is odd, But I pretty much put it out of my mind,
Okay. Now, you also had, a few years back, another project with Jim, and you guys released one record. Is there anything going on with the 2 of you now or in the near future?
Yeah, I have to word this very carefully because, nobody's said anything about anything, and I'm certainly not, at liberty to, make a full commitment on anything. But what I will say is that there's a very, very good chance of that happening, and I am currently writing lyrics, song ideas, song titles, etc., to prepare myself for that, very good possibility. And there's been talks, and it's been well received.
Okay, great. Well, we would look forward to seeing that and hearing that as well. Is there any chance of any more festival dates coming up with your former band, or was that just kind of a 2-shot deal?
Well, I never say never.
Okay.
But probably never. No. Well, it's just kind of a little bit tricky because, the touring thing is expensive. But in festivals, there's a possibility of that. Everybody is scattered around. Jim is involved with the current lineup of Fates Warning right now with some more tour dates. Frank is out, in California. Steve is busy with his band. So everybody's doing something. Joe has his band going on, so everybody's doing something. But that's not to say that, but that the opportunity might arise where we might take advantage of that. My schedule is certainly busy. I took a different path than full-time music, so I'm even doing what I'm doing is it's taking up every minute of my day, but in my life. But you know what? I don't mean that derogatory. I'm very, very blessed to be able to have done what I've done, as well as work full time, but also being able to have the liberty to do more music and work with some great musicians. So, but to answer your question, as far as the life stuff, we'll have to wait and see on that. We'll wait to, if there's another release. I never take for granted anything like, okay, just because we go into the studio, that magic's going to happen. That's not how I feel at all. I feel like it's starting over again, and you just keep your fingers crossed and jump into that journey and see where it takes you. So, if we do complete something and it's well received, then maybe that's a possibility of doing some dates with that.
Okay, that would be great. And in the meantime, we'll have to just be satisfied with the DVD, Awaken the Guardian Live, and check that out when it comes out at the end of April.
Well, that would be cool. I hope everybody likes it. It's, it was a good effort by everybody. We did the best that we could for the amount of time that we had. It's,
sure.
It's tough to pull off not having that stage experience, I'll tell you that. But hopefully, from what I've seen with the video, the limited things that I've seen, it looks like everybody's having a good time. And, I guess I hide it pretty well that, trying to get into it and communicate with the audience. And, so hopefully everybody feels the same way when they see it.
Well, I hope so. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today and kind of fill us in on what's going on with it. And hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again in the future when some new projects come out.
Absolutely. Whenever you'd like, it was a pleasure. Thank you, Chris.